So mahalo for taking the time, join the meeting. I'm Eva Blumenstein with Department of Water Supply. And my co-host is Jessica Fritchie with Carollo Engineers. There she is, joining from Illinois, right? It's where you're the late hour. So the purpose of this meeting, this is our first. What's that? Huh? Oh, hey, Neil. Mute, please. Oh. I can actually mute all here if I want. So this is our first WebEx virtual meeting, and we're going out to the community to get feedback on what the Department of Water Supply is proposing for conservation measures for all our districts. So this particular meeting is focused on Hana, but you know, folks are interested in the other districts as well. So when we get to the Q&A, you know, feel free to ask about other areas. I'm gonna start sharing my screen here right away. You folks see that okay? I see nodding. Okay, great.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. So, so tonight's agenda, I'm going to provide some background of the department's conservation program to date, what we've done, and you know the goals we've been working with. Then Jessica is going to talk about what we are proposing as part of the new, little more aggressive measures, and we would like to get feedback both on those and target goals. And Jessica also has put together a kind of a polling activity exercise so we can gauge where, you know, what your preferences and priorities are, and we have plenty of time for Q&A. So like I said, I mean, this is focused on the Hana area, the department's systems only, right? So the Department of Water Supply, we serve in Hana, the Wakiu and Hamoa areas. We have a separate system in Keanai, part of Nahiku, and some of Kapo as well. We don't serve Kipahulu. So with that in mind, the measures and what we're talking about is just for the department systems. So I think you all understand the value of water and water conservation. Water is a finite, precious resource, and conserving water makes sense for so many reasons. Save money on your water and sewer bill. If we can conserve more water, we can delay or at least make better use of the water supply that we have. You know, we don't have to add additional supply at a same rate as if we didn't do conservation. We would have to just develop more water supply to serve future demand, whether that's from streams or from groundwater. And also, if it's a common goal, then we can decrease conflicts around water use, and it also makes us more resilient to deal with droughts and climate change. And many areas on Maui and Molokai, I'm sure you know this, experience less rain and lower stream flows. At the same time, there is a desire to increase agricultural use and to have, you know, a reliable, affordable source of irrigation water. So this is more urgent than ever before. So this is not anything new. Why are we bringing this out to the community now? So the department's conservation program goes back to mid-90s or so. It was before my time, but it's been part of several plans and projects over the years. In the update of the Maui Island Water Use Development Plan, we did poll residents and farmers and businesses on conservation goals and preferred measures, and you know, based on that, those were adopted into the plan. The plan was then approved by County Council and the Commission on Water Resource Management. Also, there are some areas on the island that are designated as water management areas, where there are conflicting needs and limited resources, and the last area to be designated was Lahaina in 2022. So, I mean, all areas, but especially where resources are strained, it's really critical to spell out how we manage supply in a water shortage and how we can conserve those water resources. So this plan, we contracted Carollo in November 2022. to develop this plan for us and kind of to reassess our goals and help us prioritize conservation measures over the next 10 years. So it will identify and prioritize those measures, assess the savings and the cost effectiveness of a range of measures for each department's water system. And this plan is, we intend to have it completed by the end of March. So a little background of our conservation program to date. So on the customer side, or the demand side, we have offered a range of programs over the years. Lot is incentives such as giving out free low flow fixtures. We have giveaway of ultra high efficiency toilets for qualifying customers. Some of these programs are educational, from going out to the community, different events, schools and fairs, and doing media campaigns. And some conservation is also accomplished by county code, whether that's through setting water rates or other codes. And I'll speak a little more in detail about these programs. So water savings from like educational programs and water rates are difficult to quantify, like what savings do they result in. But other programs where we are giving away fixtures or appliances and we know they were installed, then we can better quantify those savings. So we know from the low flow fixtures that saves roughly 300,000 gallons per day. On the educational programs, we have worked with different community gardens over the years. Maui Botanical Garden, UH, and others. And one of the plant projects that we just started on this week, actually, it's a partnership again with Maui Botanical Garden to develop a native plant xeriscaping demo garden, so that the community can come out and see what type of plants are appropriate for the microclimate where I live. It's going to be very different if you live in Hana or in Kihei, obviously, with some greenhouses and such. So that's something we're pretty excited about. The poster video contest, I think we've done that for about 12 years, working with students from K to 12th grade. The landscaping guide, you see that it's like a little book. You can download it on our website as good guidance for xeriscaping and landscaping in a water efficient way. Media campaigns, we've done, they range from radio ads, bus posters, newspapers, social media. This kiosk is at the airport luggage claim and targets visitors as they arrive. So these are some examples of county code measures. There is provisions today that to some extent restrict potable water use for new golf courses, permitting also in a limited extent gray water use for residential purposes and only for underground irrigation. And the code also requires the water department, to issue notices to customers when high consumption, when high water use is detected. We have to implement a leak detection and repair program, and we provide free low flow fixtures. And part of the measures that we are, one of the recommended measures that we would like your feedback on is some amendments to county code that would require some behavioral changes and some upfront design in new development, including irrigation schedules, such as 3 days a week, and not watering during the day when it's really hot and you have high evaporation rates. And upfront design to have water efficient irrigation systems and EPA WaterSense approved appliances and fixtures in new development. So Jessica going to talk a little more about that. And on the supply side, like on the department side, this was everything I talked about was pretty much on the demand side, on the customer side. We conduct an audit every year of our water system, how the water moves through the system, what are losses and what are they originating in. There could be, leaks, water theft, data errors, things like that. We have a leak detection and repair program, of course. AMI, Advanced Metering Infrastructure, the department started in 2021, I believe, to replace older meters with smart meters, or they're called smart meters because they read more accurately, and it has a cellular transponder, so they can both be read remotely, and it offers the customer to sign up for an app so you can track your water use live. It's called Ion Water. So most of those have been installed in Central South, Lahaina, and some upcountry. I don't think we have had any replacing Hana yet. Is coming. Okay, so looking at the last 25 years of the conservation program, you're looking at savings per meter or per household. We have about 25% less water use per meter over the years, while at the same time, the number of services or meters, of course, have increased as you add more customers to the system. So that's a good result, but we think we can do more. Carola tells us we can do more. So up till now, there's a statewide initiative called the Freshwater Initiative that was initiated by the Hawaii Community Foundation. They set action goals statewide, like how can we increase the reuse of water, how can we increase the acres of watershed that's protected and generate more fresh water. So their goal was reduce freshwater use with 8% per capita by year 2030. So in the Water Use Development Plan that was approved in 2022, we had adopted that goal and projected what could that be potential savings, like how much new freshwater supply could we offset. And that would translate to about 9 million gallons a day. So we are revisiting that goal now. So this is a snapshot of the water use per system. So we serve Molokai, 2 separate systems, Lahaina, Central Maui, which extends from North Shore to South Shore, the upcountry system from Haiku to Kula and Kanaio. And in Hana, we have, they're all separate, these systems, right? So we have the Keanai, Nahiku, and the Hana system, and can't even see that on this map, a very small system in Kapua. So of course, Hana represents a fairly low amount of the water use, about 0.4 million gallons a day. And of course, the largest number of customers and demand is the central system. And if we look at that by use per person or per capita, this is based on average, 3-year average. System-wide, our gallons per day per capita is 249. And central comes in at 291. Hana and I think Molokai here leads in efficiency, but Hana is 143 gallons per capita per day. And of course, as you can imagine, there are many factors that would impact what the water use per person is. If you're in an area that have resort areas, large irrigated lots, and you don't have a lot of rainfall, you're going to have a larger, higher gallons per day per capita than in an area that have high density, like multifamily, high-rise buildings, like you have it in Honolulu. And also the per capita here is the census, right? So that's the residents. But water use is for all water uses on our system. So whether that's resort, agriculture, commercial, and whatnot. So you're going to have a higher GPD per capita in areas that include the resort areas and such. And as you can see here too, typically more than half of the use is for outdoor irrigation. That may not be true in Hana, but in general. So Carolo took a look at how we compare to other utilities. Not great, but not worst. There's some of these areas that also have extensive resorts, Orlando, Florida, for example. And then, this also means that there's an opportunity for us to improve our efficiency and really focus on outdoor use, because a lot of this is sort of unnecessary outdoor use. Okay, if we look at our system's end uses, or like what are the customer types where the water is used. So this is the consumption, the billed consumption at the tap. And the billed consumption at the tap is a lower number than what's coming out of the well or the stream, because you're always going to have some water losses in the system. So out of the 33.5 million gallons a day, you can see that the bulk of that is for single family use, 17.5. Agriculture, 1.1 MGD, but a lot of the ag use is on the department's upcountry system, and a lot of those customers they include, those lots may have a dwelling or a house also, so that includes some single family use. Okay, so projecting future water use is primarily driven by population growth. I mean, there's many different ways to look at that. We explore different methodologies in the water use development plan, but here Carola has looked at the 2020 census data, which was 167,000 residents in Maui County, and the population growth rates based on the planning department's socioeconomic forecast, which is from 2014. And I learned that the planning department plans to update this shortly, so because it's a little dated. But based on those growth rates, which vary by community plan district, Maui County could reach 222,000 residents by year 2040. So if we use that kind of high range growth rate, because it's a low to high range, but if we're looking at the high range, then that could mean an increase in 14 million gallons a day on our systems by year 2040. So we would go from 41.5 to 55.6 if we did nothing else, if we had no additional conservation measures. So if we set a pretty aggressive goal of 20% for the systems that have the larger demand and see most of the growth, which would be the central upcountry and Lahaina, and for the smaller rural system, a 10% goal, these are pretty efficient water use already, we could bring that gallons per day per capita down from 249 to 200 gallons per capita per day. And we think it's possible with the right portfolio of conservation measures. So that would mean we could decrease or mitigate that future demand by 11 million gallons a day by 2040. Or look at as a total, that would save 37 billion gallons of water, which would be 113,000 Lahaina Luna football fields filled with 1 foot of water, which I can't really comprehend. So if we look at this by system, and we're just showing the Hana system for this meeting, water use is fairly small. And again, this is consumption, the billed consumption at the tap, which is less than the water produced at the well. It's primarily single family, really no resort and hotel. We know they're vacation rentals and whatnot, but they fall into that single family category. And this is for the Hana, Kianai, and Nahiku service areas. And the use for based on census and our service areas, this is for 2,750 residents with a current average per person use or per capita use of 143 gallons per day per capita. And by year 2040, with conservation measures, we could bring that 143 down to 130 gallons per capita per day. So it's, overall, the conservation goal for Hana may not look significant. It's 0.04 million gallons a day, but when we're looking at this as part of the whole district effort, because these conservation measures apply to all the districts. So for Central, for example, that would be a saving of over 7 million gallons a day. So we kind of have to look at it at all the systems combined. Okay, so I'm going to turn it over to Jessica to talk about the measures, and I just want to preface this with, we're just really talking about the demand side measures and some of the supply side leak detection programs. And there are, of course, a lot of other projects, capital improvement projects that are ongoing that are indirectly conservation, whether that is developing new source and exploring alternative supply, desalination. We're looking at, just mitigating and improving use on so many different larger aspect. For upcountry, we had a meeting upcountry last night. We talked about raw water reservoirs. That's sort of a conservation measure too. It adds supply and adds storage, but it also helps us make more efficient use of the surface water that's diverted. So this meeting, we're not covering those large infrastructure projects. We're talking about the demand side and supply side conservation measures. So, okay, Jessica, I'm gonna hand it over to you.
Okay, thank you. And you can hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. If you can navigate to the chat, I put a link there to go and download the fact sheets if you'd like. We're going to be kind of touching briefly on the measures, but the fact sheets give a little bit more information. It's just something to refer back to. So I'm going to kind of basically be covering what's on those fact sheets, and then we'll be answering questions about those. Do you even want to keep it in presentation mode?
Yeah,
we're
sorry.
seeing the it's okay. Just wasn't sure if you knew that we were seeing the. There we go. Okay, so we have these measures just kind of grouped according to an easy way to talk about them. Generally, you can group measures by a couple of primary categories, which Ava's already covered a little bit. You've got plumbing fixtures targeting indoor types of measures. We have programs that are targeted towards outdoor, reducing that outdoor demand, and then others kind of just are more on the education side or even on the distribution side, the water loss side. Let's see. I also want to just mention too that there's about 150 water conservation measures out there in the universe of water conservation measures. There's quite a few. So what we had to do was screen that list down and picked about 20 here that we think are most reasonable for the Maui area. Kind of we considered what Maui's done in the past, kind of where you're at now, what the goals are, what we really need to target, and what's important to the communities. And also have to consider what type of demand's out there. So these are the programs that we've put together, and I'm now going to walk through those. I'm going to start off with AMI. Eva briefly mentioned the advanced metering infrastructure that Maui has started implementing. That started around the time of COVID. And Maui plans, the department plans to get most of the meters replaced in the next 2 to 3 years. That's a goal that they're going to have. So as a part of the AMI, water customers can get this Ion Water app. It's an app that you can download to your phone. And basically, you can see real live data on your water use. So it's extremely powerful way to communicate water use to customers. It is a very powerful way to capture leaks. Even DWS can take the data that they're getting, this hourly data, and all of their water users, and they can crunch it down and they can identify where there's high consumption that doesn't make sense, where there's a possibility of wasting and leaks, and they can provide communications to their customers. AMI is kind of the wave of the future right now. There's a lot of advances in it. There's a lot of very progressive water departments and water conservation groups across the whole U.S. and beyond that are implementing AMI and really using it to save water. It's been shown to save between about 8 and 15% of water use, which is pretty powerful. This would be a voluntary measure, and it would target both indoor and outdoor use. And it could be really used technically for all of the sectors, but primarily useful for the residential customers. I was going to note, Sarah does not see the chat for the fact sheet. Yes, if you'd like to put the PDF link from the site. I thought I had it in there, but there, please go ahead and correct that so they can download that.
Yeah, I don't see it either.
Did you need me to? I have to get out of the share mode if I'm going to add something in the.
I'll put the link up.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So then the next one here, these are grouped into plumbing fixtures. So there is a mix here of rebates, which are a very common form of water conservation. And, you replace the inefficient fixture, and DWS provides you with some dollar value towards the replacement of that. So there's a mix of those types of incentives, as well as an ordinance, which would be mandatory, as well as just other programs. So we have a high efficiency toilet incentive on this list, where you're offered a rebate to replace an inefficient toilet, a clothes washer incentive that's targeted towards residential users. We have a government building retrofit. So this is just going in and kind of DWS leading with, and the county in general leading by example, installing water efficient fixtures across all of their public buildings, all the government buildings, putting signage at those places to promote the water conservation. The fourth bullet there, the new development fixture ordinance, this would be passing an ordinance that would be countywide at our recommendation, requiring water systems or high efficiency fixtures in all new development and any redevelopment moving forward. WaterSense fixtures are promoted as saving about 20% from non-WaterSense fixtures, so it's very powerful. A lot of other areas of the United States have passed similar ordinances, either on the state level, the county level, or the city level. And finally, we have a program recommended for low-income plumbing assistance to help out the customers who may not be able to afford to replace a leak or to get more efficient fixtures in to get that done. So then the next set of programs here are called CII. That's just common lingo for commercial, institutional, and industrial type programs. So these are targeting those non-residential uses. We have a hotel resort program on there. This is kind of, doubled up with providing audits to identify where the hotel or resort can be more efficient, listing that out. And in exchange for the audit, the hotel or the resort facility would agree to replace that inefficient equipment. Maui could also offer some form of a rebate to incentivize the replacement, or have a schedule in which they require the replacement. The second bullet is to make those laundry facilities across the island more more efficient, with rebates to get more efficient clothes washers in place. The third bullet then is a pre-rinse spray valve giveaway. It sounds very small, that you think a very small little spray valve in a kitchen facility could save a lot of water, but those are really can save. Each one of them that's replaced could save 16,000 gallons of not only water, but hot water, which also saves energy. And then finally, the last one is a cooling tower ordinance. Some counties and cities have passed these to require that cooling towers would cycle their water more before the blowdown. These could also save a lot of water. These three measures target specifically outdoor irrigation water use. The first one is the recommendation that Eva mentioned earlier, which would be to pass an ordinance that would limit the days of week how many days per week turf grass can be irrigated. The recommendation is to go with no more than 3 days per week. This is a very common water conservation measure that a lot of utilities across the United States and beyond have passed. They can save a significant amount of water, and they've been shown to have no negative impact to the look and feel of the grass.
I have already promised the Kihei residents that their lawn is going to be fine. So
I had a reporter ask me. She said, "I'm going to take pictures before and after." That's great. I think that's fantastic. And then we have a smart irrigation controller. So, these can be like a soil moisture sensor. So that just even makes sure that those 3 days a week that you're watering, you're not watering when the soil is properly moist. So you don't need to water, if it's rained in the last 24 hours. So it only waters per your schedule and and if the soil needs them. These can also be weather-based controllers or similar. And then the third is to provide incentive to remove that turf altogether and replace it with low water use, native, microclimate appropriate plants and landscapes. This set of programs is just to kind of expand a little bit on the really great education program that DWS already has in place. The first one could be an offering of a recognition program where they are sponsoring awards for residents, properties, and businesses that are doing their part in saving water. And then the second one is to expand and to continue the public education program that they're currently doing. I should also note that education program would be to also promote the new program offerings that they're going to pick up. So of course, nobody wants to waste water. There's some who have tried to draw lines and where are we wasting the water. So this one would be a pass an ordinance. Again, we recommend this would be a countywide ordinance that would prohibit the waste of water, and they would define exactly what that is. So you have to fix leaks in a timely fashion. Can't water during high evapotranspiration times. You need to water before in the early morning or in the late evening. Hotel customers having the option to opt out of having their linens laundered every day. The requirement of efficient irrigation systems and equipments, requiring car washes, all new car washes and water fountains to recirculate water, requiring pool covers to reduce evaporation. These are just some examples. Another could be making it finable if you're, to water, after a measurable rainfall event. On the agriculture side, the measure here is to promote best practices in the agriculture. Some of this is already happening, so this is kind of continue that and promote these cost-effective BMPs in the agriculture side. Water rates are a fairly proven way to encourage efficient use. If you're paying for what you're using, and those who are using a lot and using in excess are paying a lot more, then it's a good incentive to reduce water use. And so this would be, DWS currently has tiered rate structures in place. So just along with this measure is just to re-evaluate that rate structure and do a rate study to evaluate if there's modifications that would improve water conservation adoption.
It was brought up, I think, at each meeting so far, like, why is there just one drop for savings potential? Isn't this kind of like big bang for the buck? And we're talking about that. It's just difficult to quantify the impact of water rates. I mean, they can be really, really effective, but it's not like the incentive programs where you exactly know. So it has good potential, but more unknown.
Yeah, and because you already have it in place, it is also difficult to know, if you made changes to it, how much would it conserve? Right. I have seen some areas that are very responsive to it. I've seen some areas that are very, very affluent that are less responsive to rate impacts. So it can also even vary, neighborhood to neighborhood. And this measure is for improving water loss. And this is just really to continue doing what DWS is already doing, enhancing their programs to find and repair leaks in a timely manner, reduce those system losses through data loggers and other types of measures.
I think that was the last one. Yep. So you want me to get out of share mode here?
Yes, I should have this set up. Oh, actually, let's talk first to the slide, if we can. There we go. So what we'd like to do is get your feedback on these measures and let us know which ones you think should be the top priority, which you can vote for your top 4. Which ones do you like best and you think that DWS should prioritize? So if you can, go to menti.com. You can also scan this code if you want to do it on your phone. It's pretty easy to take on your phone as well. You can scan the code. I'm going to put the link in the chat, but although now that I realize that maybe I can't put the link in the chat if it's not allowing me to do
Or if I have
so.
share mode, I think I have to stop sharing. But you want this up.
Let's see if this goes. It says to everyone. Let's see if y'all can see the link there. That's another way to join, but you can join either way. You can go to the menti.com and you need to enter in that code 66357410. Or you can take a picture of that with your smartphone of that QR code and it'll take you to the site as well. Oh, I see some people are getting there. So in just a second here, I'll share my screen. If you have other comments that you'd like to make, like, hey, why I like this one, it's not on the list. We'll give you an opportunity to offer that. But first, let's get through the poll. If you need any help, just feel free to unmute and let us know. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Is that okay?
Yeah, I need to stop sharing. There you go.
Okay. Okay, so you can see here the join us at menti.com if you haven't figured it out just yet. I know that you can't read this, but I'll let you know which ones. I can read the text. I'll just get close to the camera here. And I'm going to go ahead and close that so we can see. So AMI so far is in the lead here. You can vote up to 4. Make sure you hit submit after making your 4 selections. Hit the submit button. It looks like we've got 5 responses so far, with AMI in the lead, followed by the Hotel and Resort Program. And then getting votes of 2, the new development fixture ordinance, low-income plumbing assistance, the irrigation watering schedule, improved water loss, those all have 2 votes. And then it looks like the laundry facility incentive, the smart irrigation controller, public education programs, the ordinance to reduce waste, and the tiered rate structure modification, those all have 1 vote each.
And just FYI, I started recording this so we don't miss the results.
Perfect. I think, Eva, that is probably it. Do we have anybody who wasn't able to figure it out or that we need to hold on? And Eva, can you speak to these results compared to some of the other meetings?
Actually, probably Sarah may, because I haven't had time to summarize the polls from the other meetings. I've been going nonstop here since Monday.
Yeah.
Sarah, do you have any comments on? I don't know if you had time to summarize. We had like 50 people up country yesterday, and it was. I don't think we had time to get all the comments together.
Not all the comments, but the majority was the meters. A lot of people are interested in replacing old meters or adding new meters with the AMI that are on the meter list. So I think that's probably the most important. And the other ones compared to our other outreach, the importance to the community was education and outreach. That was a big one. I remember that. So, let me see, there was one more that was really big.
I scanned results. I was thinking it was also the hotel resort program. Am I remembering that?
I don't remember.
Exactly.
I mean, I know people talked about it, but I don't remember if they voted with their little stickers on it or not. But if once I get everything together, Ava will know.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing then.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
So we are. Well, I'm gonna just share the contact info first, so you have that. This is our water resource and planning contact info and the QR code to our subsite too. So we don't have a specific subsite assigned to this project, but our conservation subsite have the fact sheets about this plan, the meeting info, and all the conservation measures that we do there to date. And this next slide is just the email info. So at the live meetings, we had comment cards too, so people could just fill out, if you don't want to speak in public, because some of these meetings have a lot of participants. So, but now we're a fairly small group, and we had set aside like 25 minutes or so for Q&A. I'm gonna stop sharing. So yeah, so this is more, talk story. We're not a lot of folks here, so anything you want to just bring up? At the other meetings, we also had some great suggestions, on other conservation measures that we had not brought up here or that we had not tried in the past. So we really want to hear from you, both in terms of our goals. Are they aggressive enough or too aggressive? Are there things you would want us to consider that we haven't brought up? So, okay, I think Nicholas' hand was up there first. Yeah, go ahead, unmute yourself.
Oh, yeah. So I noticed that there isn't much on emergency planning for maybe fires or keeping reservoirs filled. Is there anything that's included on there that could probably, match with that?
Yeah, so I should clarify too. So as you probably saw, the plan that Carola is developing is called the Water Shortage and Conservation Plan. So the plan is twofold. It has a section that is helping us to identify triggers for a water shortage. I mean, we have county code that gives a lot of discretion to the director of, what is considered a water shortage and what kind of demand side measures that he or she can impose on customers. The water shortage part of this plan, we haven't brought that part out to the community. We're going to bring it to our board and to the commission as well for feedback. So that is more sort of like reservoir levels, drought concerns. This part of the plan is what we think of like the long-term, like permanent conservation program. Something that's always in effect. And then, during a drought, what are both mitigating actions, like the long-term actions is of course the construction of reservoirs and more supply and whatnot, but what kind of short-term actions are we proposing to take to just get through those periods? Does that answer your question?
Thank you.
Shay.
Thanks, Eva. Yeah, so I had a couple questions, issues. I get that you guys separate the county by the systems, which is basically where the water comes from, right? And of course, I'm on a Hana call, and I'm not a Hana person. I'm a haiku person. I couldn't go yesterday to Upcountry partially because I was babysitting my nieces and nephew, but also I don't feel like my situation, I feel like I have more in common with Hana than in Upcountry when it comes to, what my behavior would be and what's going on and all of that. It's been pouring rain here during this drought at my house for quite some time. So there's that piece of it. And then, if you look at the other districts like Central, which includes Kihei, that doesn't really seem fair to me because obviously it's a very different world in Central Maui and Kihei, and then Kihei has the hotels. And I get that you divide it per capita, but then the individuals in Kihei are getting blamed for the hotel use. And as we all know, and I haven't seen a recent report, but in 2021, the highest municipal water user by far was the Grand Wailea, right? And so there's the whole thing of like, yes, we should all be good citizens and do our best to conserve water, but should Hana people really be asked to conserve water when the hotels, and again, I get it's different systems, et cetera, but if we want to reduce water use for the county, the impact by working with the hotels, and it doesn't have to be a adversarial relationship. I had a conversation with Kiani Rollins Fernandez with the folks at the Oahu Water Board, and you probably know this, Ava, but their conservation branch, working with large users, they reduced their water use from 180 million gallons a day in the 80s, 1980s, now to 100. And obviously their population has increased in the last 50 years, right? And that's by working very aggressively with the hotels. And I think, again, I think it's better not to use there's all these measures we can do and we can all do better. But if we really want to consider what our future is, and if we're looking at population growth and we're not including tourists, we're just ignoring this gigantic elephant in the room that needs to be addressed.
Thank you.
But,
Yeah,
but I did get a new toilet from DWS and I loved it.
Thank you for doing that. Yeah, we hear a lot actually about, the focus and how do we understand, the use and opportunities for better efficiency at the resort areas. And our directors also brought up, like, we really need to look at this south central system almost as two separate systems. I mean, of course, we see, we look at like empirical use or like, use over time at our subsystem. So within central, we look at Pa'iakuau versus Waihe'e versus Wailuku, Kihei Makena. So we know that what a use per, the change of the demographics and size of lots and things like that is. And Sarah, who's on this call, just made a fairly recent analysis of the resorts in South Maui and West Maui to look at a representative range from like low end to really high end resorts to look at what is their use per unit or per room, and condos too. So I feel we're getting a better grasp, to kind of understand where we can target audits or where there's opportunities for improvement. Neil, go ahead.
Yeah, hi Eva and Carolo. Forgot her name. Good presentation. I actually just really two quick questions. One of them was related to Shay's question that just reminded me. So, but the first question was, I know kind of like what the conservation plan is targeting is mostly all the demand side, customer ends on the customer side of the meter. I know you talked about the water loss control as one of the elements, right? But has more in-depth analysis been done for the individual systems like Carolo, sorry? Have they taken a look at that? That might help maybe prioritize the internal water conservation. And second question, regarding, your pie chart on the water consumption districts. Are you guys prioritizing the high use districts? And Hana is probably the smallest. But that would maybe make more return on investment, I guess. Maybe not return on investment. More what's the word? More effective or achievement of the goals, yeah. Because you save that 0.4 MGD in Hana, it's like nothing, right?
No.
Anyway, so those are my two questions. Thanks.
Yeah. So I'll just start with the second one first. So so we actually have proposed, and we want to feedback on the goals too, but the 20% really only applies to the larger systems where there is more bang for the buck, where you have more of the growth, you have more of the demand, you have more of the growth. So Central, West Maui, and Upcountry. And for Molokai and Hana, the goal is 10% because they're pretty water efficient already. There's only, but it's still, so all these proposed measures, whether they're mandatory incentives, they still apply like countywide. And some of these proposed requirements actually apply to private systems as well. There is some issues with enforcement, but that's the way we plan to propose it, that if there's watering schedules and whatnot, that would be even for private systems in West Maui. And on the water loss closure analysis by system, Jessica, do you want to speak to that? If there is any.
Yeah, so we generally for this project, we don't dive deeply into reductions of the water losses. I think, Carrie, if you wanted to mention, I think we have some other opportunities with other work that we're doing for the DWS where we can kind of analyze that better. I believe Hana is one of the areas that actually has a little bit of a higher non-revenue water loss, but that's not all loss. Sometimes that can just be apparent loss. It can actually be unauthorized uses, things along those lines. So you really have to dig into it. We do have recommendations in the plan to continue water audits specific to each system. And that might be one of the measures that applies a little more specifically to the Hana area. Carrie, did you want to add anything there?
Yeah, sure. Hi, Neil. So the county's also working on developing hydraulic models and an asset management system and program. So just kind of general, getting the tools that will be really helpful moving forward, planning and looking at different things, when they can calibrate the model in particular, I think that'll bring some useful information. So I think they're working on developing some of the tools to help improve the system in many, many ways.
Thanks. Look forward to that.
Shay, go ahead.
So yeah, going back to the various sort of mandatory things or the, Tuesday, Thursday water or whatever it is. So how does that work when you have some people on catchment? Are you going to just say only people, this is just for municipal? I mean, that would make sense because of course catchment people have their own water, but then you can't really enforce that easily because you don't know if you're just driving. I don't know how the enforcement works, but yeah, I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah, no, good question. So yeah, when I say apply to private systems, I mean the larger purveyors that has, the private municipal. So the larger purveyors on the west side and such. Smaller individual households that is on a catchment system or on an individual, private well, it's just, I mean, there's incentives to conserve, but those mandates really can't apply to small individual household systems and folks that have just catchment tanks.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then I just had another sort of comment question that goes back to, the way Hana, or not Hana, but Haiku North Shore is grouped with upcountry. So with this recent drought restrictions, right? Just my personal situation is my driveway desperately needs to be power washed. It's like covered in mold, okay? It's so bad. And so part of how I found out about the toilet incentive program is because I kept going to the website to try to figure out, am I allowed to power wash my driveway, right? And I, of course, as a former member of the Board of Water Supply, I don't want to be violating the rules, right? It would look really bad. So, but it's getting super bad. And so it's frustrating because of course it is been pouring rain. Actually, it's calmed down a little bit, but it's been pouring rain. It gets worse every day and I can't power wash. And I don't fully, I get that we're still in a drought and all that kind of stuff, but I'm just saying in terms of messaging, and I'm somebody who actually should understand it and should be able to go through and read through it. I'm completely confused, not sure what I'm allowed to do, and not fully sure why. You know what I mean? So I think that is a big issue in terms of conservation as far as people understanding it. Part of it is just even how you have the website, right? It's like I'm trying to go through there. And like I said, that's how I found out that I could get a free toilet, which was cool. But it's because I was searching everywhere on the website trying to figure out if I could power wash my driveway.
Oh yeah, this is also a message that we heard, yes, through these last 3 meetings. We're doing an abysmal job at getting like messaging, even just switching from a stage 1 to stage 2, or for, of course there's a press release and there's a legal notice in the paper, but it doesn't really reach a lot of people. And like you say, you have to kind of go search for what are you allowed to do. So we get that. We have to do a much better job at the communication on these. And the other part is, yeah, so you live in Haiku and you have had, much more rainfall than Hula Keokea. During October, November, when we had extreme drought, it was actually a combination of both no rainfall and pumps down, including the Haiku well, which is our normal operations to serve Haiku. So even operational issues, we end up having a true shortage in haiku, even during rain, because the well is down for various reasons, for an extended time. So now haiku becomes dependent on Wailoa Ditch and, pumping water. So the whole system is truly interconnected. So even where, the rainfall is so different and it's frustrating to not being able to water when it's pouring rain, it's, with other reasons. So I hear we probably need to communicate that also, because people probably feel frustrated that why is this, shortage still going on? Yeah. Thank you for that. Yeah, Nicholas, go ahead.
Hi, Eva. Do you have any types of incentives or programs running for reusable water? I remember talking to one of your staff, Robert, about that a while back.
Well, yes and no. So the reclaimed water is administered by the Department of Environmental Management. So the water is not like Honolulu, where they're managing the wastewater and the potable water systems. I think we do have a better collaboration with that department than we had in the past. But on the other hand, we're piloting gray water, like looking at first we have a desal study going, like looking what was that going to cost, is it feasible?
Nice.
And another type of reusing wastewater is the gray water system. We have the one system that's already installed for West Maui, and Robert, that you mentioned, is working on getting one, a real cutting edge system that would allow the gray water to be used for spray irrigation at the Kanaha Beach Park, which is one of those really high water use parks in Maui. So those are things we sort of want to test out, and if this is feasible and scalable, then we could sort of hand that over to the Parks Department and say, hey, you can replicate this at all the county parks and the state parks, and this is a way of reusing, shower and sink water. So yeah, so recycle. So the R1, there's a lot of coordination now specifically between our director and the DM director, to kind of repurpose and expand those systems to work closer with us. So where can it offset the department's potable system? But it's not part of our conservation program, really.
Okay. Sounds great. Thanks, Eva.
Yeah, thank you. Other thoughts, questions, comments? Think of? It's been really good going, getting, we didn't really know what to expect, and we had everything from, 3 to 50 participants, but it's great input, a lot of good ideas from each, and it's very, as you can imagine, it's very different for each district and on the island. We're going to do Molokai on Monday night. So I think this has really helped both us and Carollo to kind of really testing, validating the measures that we're proposing. Any thoughts on our conservation goals? Are we on track? Are we crazy, or should we be more aggressive? It seems this is something we had looked at in the past, 20%, looked at what California had done. And I think what we're really trying to do is to figure out how can we, because obviously we have limited funds, so we have to figure out what is those measures that we can do between the available funds and the manpower we have, and still accomplish that. So I think we can. Shay, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, have you guys reached out to the Oahu Water Board since they've had such success over the last several
Oh, yeah,
decades?
totally. I mean, I talk a lot to Barry Usagawa, who's kind of my equivalent there. He's almost like my mentor. I learned from him. If I don't know something, I call Barry. So.
Well, and I think it's important that people in the community and our politicians know how amazing Oahu is. I was actually talking to a Civil Beat reporter a while back saying, I don't know why you guys don't use examples from other counties just in general when we're talking, because we often look to the mainland or look to, and that's fine. But if somebody is doing it in a neighboring county and have had a lot of success, whatever the topic is, I mean, that's the easiest to replicate.
Yeah.
And they have the experience with those, even the
Sure.
same companies sometimes.
I mean, they're so different demographics, their density and high rise, it's probably impossible for us to really replicate what they do. Like the water use for that type of development is different, but yeah, we're definitely learning. Jessica, sorry, you.
Yeah, I was going to mention that we did review their programs and their current offerings just to kind of, understand what was successful there. A lot of rebates. I mean, that's a primary focus of their program there. A lot of rebates, which makes sense. A little less outdoor irrigation going on there. A lot more of the use would be indoor. Then they also promote the recycled water. They do a lot of recycled water offsets. So that's another way that they've reduced their potable demand and kept their per capita lower.
Well, and like I said, I mean, it was great to get this toilet. I was very happy. But it did seem like not very many people knew about it. So, getting that word out. And then the other thing I was just going to point out, because you said something about plumbing or plumber rebates or whatever. And we happen to have this wonderful plumber who unfortunately is moving to the Big Island, but he charged us $80 to replace our toilet. And he's just one of those people that doesn't charge more for any extra minute that he works, right? But I noticed on Facebook very soon after somebody said, "Oh my God, I guess just got charged $700 to replace a toilet." And I was just like, "Oh, that sucks." And, I think that is, I don't know how you sort of deal with that, but that's another piece of it is, and that's to do with anything, whether your toilet is running or, any kind of problem you have with plumbing, can be very expensive if you don't have a trusted person to do it.
Sure.
And I think that I'm sure there's tons of waste that's not because people don't want to take care of stuff. It's because not only is it expensive, but it's also very fraught trying to go, do I trust this person? Do I trust that person? You see on Facebook all the time, does anybody have a so-and-so that they can recommend because I don't want to get screwed over?
Mhm.
And again, I don't know how you deal with that, but I
Yeah,
think
I mean, so we can't, obviously when we do contracts for the county, we can select, but we cannot recommend private businesses. That's a no-no. So
right.
it's like we
I
can't
wonder
get
if you
into that.
could even have even have information about kind of what it should cost. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know how, what is the range across the country, or something to give people a sense.
Yeah, we have to be really careful, trying
Yeah.
to, when they're private plumbing companies. And unfortunately, I hear what you're saying because it does happen. And yeah, there's not so many left anymore that charges $80.
Yeah, I know, we were very lucky.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and also the ultra low flow toilet program is really good. And I think we have to find more ways to promote it because every customer so far is just really excited. But we have, Sarah, how many more toilets do we have in storage still? A couple of hundred.
We have about 40.
Oh, just 40.
Yeah, we do try to promote it. We put it on the radio many times. It's been on our website. We have flyers we give out at all events that we do that have QR codes and links and information. And it's just a matter of, I think it's done better by word of mouth. That's the biggest.
Social media on repeat, maybe.
Yeah, we could ask them to do that for us. So. Because we can't do that. That's up to them.
Yeah, suggestions also, how to better reach out to the community. That's always welcome because that's a chronic challenge, including, meetings. How do we get the word out? We did between press release, social media, website, fact sheets, but it's still, I don't really know, what are some other better ways to get more impact on the outreach without annoying people. Other thoughts, questions, comments? If you think of something afterwards, of course, feel free to. I did share the, you cannot see my presentation anymore, right? The contact info. I think most of you have my contact info. Water resources at mauicounty.gov. any follow-up questions and comments. Yeah, especially because you don't have the comment cards here. Yeah, otherwise, thanks so much for just taking time tonight. And that we didn't get a glitch. I was really worried that an hour and a half ago that this was not going to work. And it did. So, mahalo nui.